We're turning our attention to hurling. Adrian Fogarty's with us. Adrian, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How you doing?
Nice quiet Kilkenny Galway clash coming next weekend, which is kind of a little bit under the radar. We figured time for us to turn a bit of a spotlight onto it. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, it's a strange one, Ger. It's hard to know how I feel, really. It's once the fixture was made last year, the first thing, of course, was the Brian Cody and Henry Shefflin debacle. So it's like the greatest manager of all time, and he's coming up against his lieutenant. So it's a very, very strange one. Big game in Salt Hill, and it's hard to know which way it'll go. Looking at the championship so far, it's hard to tell if Kilkenny are going well or if Galway are going well. It's just so hard to tell. But I'm sure the media, Ger, will blow this one up for the weekend anyway.
What would be your headline on it? Would it be master versus apprentice, teacher versus teacher's pet?
Teacher's pet, definitely. It's yeah. I know. Look, the boys are professional. They're not going to make it about them. Like, it's not about Brian Cody. It's not about Henry Shefflin. The lads will be concentrating about Galway, and they'll be concentrating about Kilkenny, and that's what it's about. It's not about the two boys at all, and it's about getting 2 points on the board and getting to the next stage of the championship.
This seems like it's a new Kilkenny team. Like, it's hard to say that, obviously, because obviously there are so many of the players who we are very familiar with, but it does seem like there's been an evolution in style. There's been some significant changes in personnel. Some players have new positions. It feels like it's not year one. Obviously, it's never going to be year one when Cody's involved. But there's a bang of this could actually be. We need to think about them as a different team as opposed to it's the same team from the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think during the league, I think Brian found the new players. Mikey Butler is a big find for me in a corner back. He played wing back the last day. Blanchfield as well, strengthened it up, had a great league. And you're dead right, just a change in personnel and a change in style, the way they play, and a more confidence in the way they play. They're playing the short game, they're playing through the lines a bit more, and they're mixing it with the short and the long. Now, in saying that, it's gas. Like, he's made 4 changes for the Westmeath game the last day, and he dropped Blanchfield, he dropped Keane Kenny out midfield, and I was just looking at it, and I was looking at the size of the players and the players that came in. You know, he had James Maher coming in midfield, strong man in midfield. Donnelly came back in. Walter Walsh is after finding a vein of form. So you might think Kilkenny are moving a bit better, but he's still gone back to the old guard a small bit, and he's gone for size, he's gone for strength. Connor Brown there, he got in centre back as well. And I'd say he's looking at down the line that perhaps if he's taken on the Galways, if he's taken on the Limericks, on the Waterfords, he is going to have to get size, because I know Keane Kenny and the lads done well during the league, but at the end of the day, there is no comparison between league and championship. And if you're not physically built to take on these guys, and even seeing it against Waterford, Limerick the weekend, Waterford struggled to get through the half-back line there, taking hits and knocks, and they need the big guys back, and they need them playing well. And I suppose if you look at Kilkenny, like, who have they really played? Have they been tested? This is the thing. If you even look through the league, it was Dublin, Laois, Antrim. They played a Waterford team that was through to a semi-final already, and then they played Cork, and were defeated pretty well in the end in the second half performance against maybe a Cork team that are not firing on all cylinders. And then they started the championship playing Laois and Westmeath. So Kilkenny have not been tested. We don't really know how they're going. Yes, they look like a better outfit, but the only time they have been tested and defeated was against Cork. And in the second half of that, what I'd be afraid of, they went back to their old style. They panicked a bit. So we all know Brian Cody's traditionalist, win your own ball, 50-50 ball into the square. And I just wonder, is the real belief there when it comes down to the crunch, when they're really under pressure, do the players on the field really believe and stick to the game plan of playing it through the line? Because when they went long, that's what the downfall was.
I mean, we would expect them to be under pressure this weekend, but again, as you say, the league form has so far proven to be largely irrelevant, maybe with the exception of Waterford being as good in the championship as they have been in the league. We don't know where Galway are. That's the other massive unknown heading into this weekend. What's the truth about them?
Yeah, Galway, like, they're such an unknown entity. Like, they're the Jekyll and Hyde of hurling. Like, if Galway turn up, they can absolutely annihilate you. And I think Henry was disappointed, obviously, with the result down in Wexford Park. It's a game they should have won. They were 6 points up with 8 minutes to go. They should have seen it out, and only for a controversial lead chin score at the end, they got the draw. But really, Galway should have came out there with 2 points. Obviously, last weekend put up a high score, and that's the thing in the championship and playing these teams. It could go down to scoring difference, and that's why you have to be racking up massive scores. Because if you're on same points, it's going to come down to scoring difference. So Galway last weekend looked superb, but it was, again, no disrespect to Westmeath. You want to be beating Westmeath if you're in contention to a Leinster final or getting to an Ireland series. So they're an unknown entity. But I think Henry will have Galway just firing the weekend. It's in Salt Hill. It's a massive game. This is the game that has been penciled in from day one in the Leinster Championship, and they are an unknown entity. And as I said, Galway could turn up and blow you out of the water, but I think it'll be a close game. I think Kilkenny are playing well, and I said that the changes they have made have improved them, and they're playing to a better style. And it's just, if they stick to that style, they're going to be a hard team to beat. But Galway are always thereabouts, and they could take off if they win Sunday. They could take off, and it could be All-Ireland contenders in the space of 5 minutes.
It sounds like you're not overly convinced on whether or not Kilkenny are going to stick to this style of play, and like, what does that say about this team, that maybe they're not sure about it?
Yeah, I think they're just not sure, but maybe it's just the league and the lack of maybe time wise, because it's just match on match on match. And for these things to come off, and even see maybe against Tipperary the weekend, you have to be in training, and even to put one aspect of a strategy into your game plan, you have to be in training and doing it constantly. Like, these things just don't happen overnight. And when the guys are so used to maybe playing the long ball and winning your own ball, and like, when you say that, you play to your strengths. You have Walter Welsh, you have TJ Reid, you have John Donnelly, great men in the air. So maybe there's a reason to play the long ball, but just against Cork, it just faded out. So my only worry would be if they panic and go back to that style. But maybe during the championship and the few training sessions they had, that they'll stick to it. And look, they have to mix it both ways anyway. Yeah.
Like, do you think that they're playing to their strengths now, or have they moved away from playing to their strengths?
No, look, I think they're playing to their strengths. I think, look, that they're pulling out a third midfielder. They're leaving 2 inside. They're getting into the middle third. Look, it's amazing. Like, when they're champions, they're just looking at the Limerick style of play, and they're getting it to the middle third, and then they're looking up, and they're playing it into the full forward line of Billy Ryan, which he's darting here and there, and TJ Reid started the last day at full forward. So they have a target man in the air, which is always Brian Cody's ethos anyway. Have a ball winner in there, and then you have Billy Ryan playing off them, and the half forwards swarming in around as well. So they've definitely changed their style. Like, even for Cody to bring out a third midfielder would be kind of unheard of, unless the other opposition brought a player. But for him to kind of do it off the cuff straight away, that's a change in style, and it suits the Kilkenny team. Liam Keown or Mossy Keown started there for the league most days as well, and he was playing to that kind of format and played very well. So Kilkenny are playing to a good strategy when they're on top. So, like, when it gets to the middle third, they're playing decent ball in. Before, they were just hitting sky balls in, but now they're putting it to the left and right of the player, like any team is trying to do. They're trying to get it to that middle third, trying to have then the halfback have a look and put a perfect ball in to the guys, to give them the 70-30 chance of putting it over the bar. That's the way they're playing.
What's the crack with Adrian Mullen out at midfield? Is that, like, you can do that, get him some game time out there, like, or is that maybe something that they're thinking about further down the line? You need a massive scoring power from further out the field?
I think so. I think Adrian Mullen probably has been firing on all cylinders since his injury, and he's back in the team, and he needs game time, and he needs 70 minutes in him, and he needs to build up his confidence. And midfield is a type of area where there's a lot of ball. He can get onto a lot of ball, and he can go forward. And Adrian Mullen is a brilliant forward, but he hasn't been playing that well in the forward line. And in midfield, you get more to express yourself in midfield. You're not kind of marking a player. You're just kind of getting around the place and getting fitness into you. And I think Adrian Mullen is going to be there in midfield for the foreseeable, and played very well the last day. He was on team of the week, but he needs to build up his confidence. And I think forward-wise, there's options. Kilkenny have a lot of options. You have Cody starting corner forward, came out wing forward. You have Adrian Mullen in midfield. He can move in. And it's all about interchangeable. The day of standing in your own position is totally gone. So you have to have guys that are interchangeable, that can move into the half forward line seamlessly, and if you're under pressure in the full forward line, that they can take scores from out the field. And you can see it in Pádraig Welch being centre forward. He's moving from left to right. He's taking scores off the sideline, which Kilkenny weren't able to do the last couple of years.
Like we maybe forget a little bit about how good he could be, and like he's potential hurler of the year material at some point in his career. So if he was to find a position that allowed him to express the full of his talent and get some of that confidence back, that's a game changer.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And Kilkenny have struggled for midfielders for the last couple of years. You know, they were you had Liam Blanchfield going in, you had Richie Lahey was going in, never really made it. Richie Reid was in there. So they really are looking for a midfielder to kind of nail down that position. And it's the type of position that he can roam in. We found him up in the full forward line the last day. He's backing his half backs, the other day. But I think for Mullen, I think he has the hurling, but it's just his confidence and his lack of hurling the last 2 years. Due to injury, and he needs to kind of get it back. And time is kind of running out for him to make. Like, he came on the scene, blew the whole thing away, but he has dropped his standards, and maybe it's due to his injuries and things. But midfielder would be a position where I'd see him flourish. All
right. Well, I think everybody who loves the game wants to see him express himself and reach his full potential. So we wish him all the best with that. A debate that they wandered into last night on the show was Limerick current team versus your team. We didn't tell you about this in advance, I don't think. We're springing it on you now.
Who had you on the show talking about that?
Well, Mick kind of wandered into it accidentally when he was talking about how any one of that Limerick team can end up being man of the match. And I was like, I don't know, if you look back at the track record of All-Ireland finals that you won, it wasn't Henry man of the match in every game. It was actually a random selection of people.
Brian Cody.
Who were man of that. Did they give Cody 1 year?
08, yeah.
For the 5 in a row. And that was ridiculous.
That's right. 08, Brian got man of the match. Yeah, I think Eddie Brennan scored about 2-1 that day. He was disgusting in City West.
Do you win a car for man of the match? Was there something? There was something ridiculous.
No, you get a bit of crystal. Yeah. So
right. Okay.
If there's a car, it's ABC and all together right there.
All right. This is the good stuff. So, in your head, when you've been thinking about this, which I'm sure it's at various stages people have had, but this Limerick team are really good. They're really, 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 really good. We know they're very good. How would they match up against you guys?
Yeah, you're really throwing me in the spot here, Ger, all right? Yeah, so you'd often think about taking them on and different positions. And look, even for myself, I'd be looking at Sean Finn and I'd be thinking, yeah, I'd take this guy, no problem, And it's as easy to say it when you're sitting on your couch on a Sunday evening saying, yeah, I'll take him there, no problem. But to be serious matchups, to be a serious contest. And as you said, look, with Kilkenny, the thing was when someone didn't perform, as in like maybe a Henry or, a Tommy Welsh or a JJ, then you had a Jackie Tyrrell stepping up. You had different lads stepping up at different times, and that's what's kind of happening to Limerick. And we had this fantastic panel of guys coming off the bench, and it was all kind of look, Kilkenny's second team would be the second best team in Ireland. This kind of crazy talk, But yeah, you'd have to get the matchups. I think Hegarty on Eddie Brennan and Brian Hogan on Keane Lynch, and we never really, well, when we say we never did stats, we did stats, but I think Brian never really called them stats. There were just kind of meetings about what we were going to do and things. And I think we'd have to sit down and we'd have to really think about who we're going to be on. But a lot of it would be just a dogfight. In fairness, our team, it was just the fight, the fight that was in us, and Limerick are really showing that. When I was thinking about Limerick this year and kind of comparing it to ourselves, I was thinking, what do they have to do to kind of keep the thing going? And there was two things for me that stood out. I said they have to keep the hunger in themselves, which they've proven. Their tackling, their intensity, their drive, and just their mentality has to be there, and that's there in droves. And maybe just do something different. From our point of view, probably 2009, 2010, 11, with that great Tipperary team, we felt as if we were slipping, just not slipping, but teams were beginning to catch us just slightly. And we just felt that we had to do something different. And even Connacht, by pushing up Kyle Hayes, that was something different straight away up to the full forward line. So you have to keep the hunger in the panel, do something different, nothing major, nothing fantastic, but just keep teams thinking on their toes, that you're not too you're not, that the teams that won't know that what you're going to be doing from day in and day out. And
my current argument is that your team is better, right? But it's still TBC in history.
Obviously, Ger.
Well, time is on Limerick's side, right? The one thing that you guys had was that you had great rivals in that there was a brilliant Cork team who obviously ended up imploding a bit because of the strikes. That was at the start of your period of time being a great team, but that wasn't like a team which had absolute legends of the game. And then the great Tipperary team came along and stopped the 5 in a row, but in a way that actually retrospectively makes your rivalry with them even stronger, that they were good enough to actually win and to get over the line. Limerick have had good individual teams. Galway came and won their All-Ireland and then went away. Since then they haven't had a team who have been clearly the second best team or who are good enough to push them. Like, they kind of need Waterford. If history is going to judge them as an all-time great team, they need Waterford to get there and to be an all-time, to be a team that can win an All-Ireland. I guess what I'm saying is you had better opposition over that period at the start and at the end. In the middle, certainly you were winning All-Irelands, and none of those teams were able to hold a candle to you. At the moment, Limerick needs somebody to emerge from the pack who are nearly as good as them and who actually beat them once to make us all think, actually, you know what, this is an all-time great team.
Yeah, it's a valid point, and it's a point that we would have talked about before. I just said the Cork team came along when we were there. Then there was a very good Waterford team, probably coming to the end, the small bit with the Tony Browns and the Ken McGraths. Then you had the great Tipperary team, fantastic team through the years. So we had massive rivalries through the years and teams that could possibly take us down on any given day. And that kind of heightens the sport. If you look at any sport, if you look at soccer or rugby, whatever, when you have a rivalry and you're just barely winning the games and getting over, and just the intensity and the aura around it, you suddenly just become a kind of a better team. And I'm not running down Limerick at all, they're fantastic, but you nearly would love a Kilkenny team that we have in this day and age, just to put them to the pin of the collar, see what they're all about. Because if you look at Tipp are probably in transition a small bit. Kilkenny the last couple of years trying to find a few players, a small bit of transition as well. Waterford went off the boil for a while, albeit they're probably the second best team in the country as well. Galway as well lost a lot of high profile players as well, and Clare kind of had to do a rebuilding strategy with loan, all in the last 3 to 4 years when Limerick were coming along the scene. And that's not running down Limerick. Fantastic, they've won All-Irelands, and they are the best team in the country. But as you said yourself, you nearly want, Waterford are probably the closest, and you nearly need a team just to be kind of testing them at times and showing how kind of frail they can be maybe during the matches, and they're there for the taking.
Sorry, go ahead.
That would probably then you'd be saying, right, well, these guys are actually, they have the mentality for this. They're made of steel, they're hard men to beat, mix them anyways. Then you really see that the Limerick come out. And I think you would see it if you had a rivalry. I think Limerick would still be on top.
That's the thing.
To make him a greater team.
So you say you'd take Sean Finn. If we can go into this time machine and Taggy, you're player manager of the Kilkenny team and you're up against Limerick. Let's go through some of the matchups. Who's marking Gillette Hegarty first of all?
Gillette Hegarty, I would put, who would you put? I wouldn't put Shefflin on Gillette. I would put probably an Eddie Brennan, probably a guy to turn. No, actually, hold on. Eddie Brennan would be in the wing forward. Hegarty, Tommy Welch.
Tommy Welch and Hegarty. So then
there's only one man for him. Yeah.
So Tommy then Welch. Who goes on Cian Lynch then if Welch is occupied?
Cian Lynch. I'd push up Brian Hogan onto him. Yeah.
Brian Hogan. Okay. What about Kyle Hayes then? I'll only do 40s, by the way.
Kyle Hayes, is he full forward or is he wing back?
I guess let's go with full forward. Let's go with the current Limerick team. Full
forward. I think JJ would handle Kyle Hayes the full forward. I think JJ would be very cute, and I don't think he'd be on as much ball as you'd imagine he would be. But to be a serious matchup, especially in the air as well. JJ, look, he was just God in the air, so that'd be a serious matchup in the full forward line.
And then Tommy was saying on Sunday that there's 4 pillars of this Limerick team. Those are 3 of them, and the 4th one is Tom Morrissey. So who would mark Tom Morrissey from that Kilkenny team?
Tom Morrissey, I think he put a runner on Tom Morrissey. I think likes maybe, and Eddie, we put Eddie Brennan on Pádraig Maher before on the wing back line, and Eddie we just went at him and just turned him. And I think if you run at that half back line of Limerick, there could be frailties there. It's either getting the ball over the half back line or get them on their back feet and turn them. That's what I'd be trying to do, and I'd be putting pace in there big time. And I put in ball winners as well. You know, you still have Henry Shefflin there. You'd have Gorta there as well.
Richie
in the
Power.
square. I think if Richie Power, Richie Hogan, TJ Reid.
It's not a bad team.
It's possibly the best team of all time.
And I haven't even mentioned my own name yet.
There you go. You're player manager, so it's.
Well, they don't have Cody, you see now, actually, as a result of that.
Yeah. I might play sweeper, get the handy role. Yeah.
And who's Jackie Tyrrell picking up?
Jackie Tyrrell is Hurling Glan. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh yeah. Wow.
To be met for him, I think.
Fire with fire.
Anytime, absolutely fire with fire. You know, Glan's a bit of a hothead. Jackie took no crap from anybody. And when you give Jackie a job, I remember we put him on Lark Harbour there over the years, and he was so meticulous. You know, he even knew what boots Lark Harbour was wearing. So if he was on the ground, he'd have a quick look up, and if he saw a pair of boots, that was Lark, and he's up and gone. So I think Gillette and Jackie would be a serious contest. And the thing is, the way Limerick play, they're trying to isolate Gillette the whole time. Jackie'd love that.
We need some kind of AI computer programmer to program these games. So
yeah, what was that show on Bravo, Ultimate Warrior was it called? Or and they would like put people from like various, like a gladiator up against World War II soldier and see who would actually win. We need to get those people to do a high budget Limerick versus Kilkenny match, see who would actually come out on top. I sense that you think that those Kilkenny players would win most of those matchups.
Well, look, I'm not going to let down my own, so I would. To be fair, look, as I said, we're the type of team that I remember Tipp as in 2010, and all we could think of was Tipperary. We didn't mention it in the dressing room. We didn't talk about them really in the dressing room until the day actually came. But in the backs of our heads, all we wanted was Tipperary, and I think we'd be fair up for it. We'd be fair driven, and I think we'd have the hurlers and the bite and the physicality as well. I know these lads are machines, but give us a couple of years to be in the gym, and we'll go back and we'll bulk up and we take them on.
Am I right in saying the 5 in a row is Henry's cruciate? That's that game, isn't it? Lars' hat-trick is Henry's cruciate, the same game, is it?
Yeah, same game, yeah. And Brian Hogan was injured as well. John Tennyson was centre back and Brian Hogan was missing as well, so Brian and Henry was out, yeah.
It's really unfortunate that for the biggest game of the history moment that the best player of all time is unavailable. Or like plays
12 minutes.
Yeah.
He played 12 minutes and hobbled off, yeah. But like in fairness, that day Tipperary were...
No, they were great.
Sublime.
They were, you'd love to see what, like, if Lars scores his hat-trick and Henry's playing, what the outcome is. Maybe they still win, and maybe it's like they win by a point, but it's one of those moments that we can speculate in the darkness. Anyway, look, we ended up talking about all that. One last thing, right? Clare. Our Clare team now that everybody needs to be scared of, because they suddenly have a forward line that has confidence and depth, and it's not just Tony Kelly anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Would I be afraid to go to play Clare? I probably wouldn't be afraid. I probably think that we could beat them. But in saying that, if you're looking at the teams around, and we mentioned it maybe beforehand, maybe the teams aren't at that levels that they were before. Clare are probably looking for third place. They're up against Cork this weekend, an absolute massive game. But the thing with Clare is, and I fancy Clare before the Munster Championship. I didn't see a whole lot of them, but I know the way Brian Lohan puts a team together, and he's mixing it both ways. There's a fight in them, and he has a direct ball. Look, he's a bit old school. He has Peter Duggan in the full forward line, Shane O'Donnell back going well. As I said, Tony Kelly, not the main man, John Conlon. They look just very good. Well set up, a real hard team to beat. But they played a Tipperary team maybe that were very poor on the day as well. So there's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But I would think they might scrape through for third place. And if they got a bit of momentum, got their tails up, they could go a long way. They really could. I think, they played direct. They play really, really good hurling. Their backs are swarming. But have they shown their cards? That's the thing. Like, it's championship. You have to show your cards at some stage. But would I be really, really afraid of meeting them in the Ireland final? Possibly not yet.
No, but you definitely would give them the opportunity to progress. In this game, this weekend, if they do what we think they can do to Cork, then all of a sudden, like, I just think that they have enough talent there that on a day, Tony Kelly could go crazy and score 211, and suddenly it's like, oh, how did that come from? Like, he's that good. So we'll we'll have an opportunity to reflect on that this time next week, hopefully. Aidan, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Thanks a million, lads. Appreciate it.